Gentlemen, let's sit with a question few of us dare to voice, even to ourselves. It creeps in during the quietest hours of the night, when the world has dimmed, the phone is silent, and every mirror in the house seems to reflect not just our faces, but decades of choices, compromises, and unspoken longings. Do men over 60 really need women? It is not about lust, or societal expectation, or the superficial pursuit of youth. It is about something far deeper. Something that touches the core of who we are. Something we often avoid confronting because admitting it feels like weakness. And yet, the truth waits patiently, indifferent to denial. The human heart does not age like the body does. Its need to be seen, to be understood, to be shared with, lingers, quietly, persistently, stubbornly. By the time a man reaches 60, he has lived several lifetimes within one. He has loved fiercely, lost painfully, sacrificed silently, and endured challenges that often left invisible scars. Every relationship, every disappointment, every triumph, and every heartbreak has layered onto him like sediment, building a version of himself that the world often overlooks. And by now, society has already whispered the comfortable lie: you're past the need for connection. You should be content in your solitude. On the surface, it sounds reasonable, even wise. A man has earned the right to rest. Yet within, a quiet resistance stirs. Something in the heart refuses to accept that emotional desire simply evaporates with age. It doesn't vanish, it mutates. It becomes quieter, more cautious, easier to ignore. And ignoring it is what most men do, because facing it means vulnerability, and vulnerability at 60 often feels like exposure to unnecessary risk. Many men will say they do not need women anymore. They frame it as choice. But look closer. What they really mean is that they do not want chaos, rejection, disappointment, or the emotional labor of starting over. They do not want to explain themselves. They do not want to navigate the storm of unmet expectations. Solitude feels safer, predictable, controlled. At first, this choice feels liberating. There is a relief in peace, in absence of drama, in the quiet authority of one's own schedule and decisions. But over time, that relief often morphs into something more insidious: emotional numbness, a subtle erosion of purpose, a sense that life is passing through the filter of survival rather than joy. Many men do not notice it until decades have slipped by. Take the story of Arvind, a man of 67. After a painful divorce in his late 50s, he swore off women entirely. He immersed himself in routines, in work, in maintaining a sense of control. Friends envied his stability, praised his independence. For years, he felt strong. Yet as time passed, a quiet void crept in. Laughter became less spontaneous. Achievements, though objectively significant, carried little joy without someone to witness them. Minor illnesses became reminders of solitude. No one was there to check in, to share a cup of tea, to simply notice. What he missed was not the thrill of romance or the physicality of intimacy. It was emotional witnessing, being seen without judgment, being understood without explanation. And this absence, unlike heartbreak, did not arrive with a thunderclap. It seeped in like mist, almost imperceptibly, until one day he realized he had been living in quiet emptiness for years, telling himself, "I'm fine," even as something essential inside him had quietly dimmed. Biology, often underestimated, tells another part of this story. Even late in life, a man's brain responds to emotional connection, touch, conversation, and presence. These stimuli are not luxuries. They are essential neurochemical triggers that influence motivation, mood, cognition, memory, and even immune function. Men who sustain meaningful emotional bonds age more gracefully, recover faster from illness, and remain sharper mentally. When these bonds disappear, the brain interprets it not as liberation, but as withdrawal. Energy dwindles, curiosity fades, life contracts. Independence without connection for the human brain is not freedom, it is deficit. Yet it must be said clearly, No man should rely on a woman to feel whole. Emotional dependence is a trap at any age, and when it collapses, it can leave devastation in its wake. But there is a critical distinction between dependence and companionship. Dependence seeks rescue. Companionship seeks shared presence. Strong men over 60 do not look for women to restore youth or validate self-worth. They seek mutual understanding, quiet respect, shared laughter, the comfort of someone who sees them without expectation and who does not demand performance. They seek emotional safety, and they offer it in return. Connection, when chosen consciously and freely, is a strength, not a vulnerability. Dating or connecting in later life is not about fantasy or escapism. It is about honesty. Everyone carries a past, emotional baggage, health realities, children, loss, and boundaries. These factors make senior relationships richer, more authentic, and far less performative. Women, too, are no longer looking for heroes or providers. They seek stability, consistency, and respect. Older men who thrive in companionship are not the wealthiest or the most conventionally attractive. They are the most emotionally resilient. They listen without defensiveness, communicate without ego, and approach relationships with humility rather than pretense. Loneliness in men is deceptive. It often masquerades as peace, contentment, or self-sufficiency. In truth, it often shows itself through irritability, withdrawal, endless distractions like television or social media, and a creeping emotional numbness. Many mistake this numbness for serenity, but serenity carries warmth. Numbness is cold, efficient, hollow. Left unchecked, this emotional void transforms into declining health, fading ambition, and a silent erosion of purpose. This is why widowers often deteriorate rapidly after losing a spouse, not because they are weak, but because they lose their emotional anchor and never learn to rebuild one. Choosing solitude at 60 can be empowering if it stems from choice, but choosing it out of fear, calling it wisdom, and hiding behind rationalizations can be dangerous. Life without emotional openness becomes efficient but empty. Days and years pass with muted echoes of experiences that should have been richer. Regret often arrives silently, at the moment when it is hardest to change course. Emotional courage in later life is not about avoiding pain. It is about accepting the vulnerability inherent in connection while maintaining self-sufficiency. True strength is not isolation. It is independence blended with openness. A powerful man builds first, then opens. He nurtures his health, crafts meaningful routines, fosters friendships, pursues curiosity, and cultivates purpose. Companionship, when it arrives, enhances these elements. It never defines them. If a woman becomes part of his life, it is because he chooses connection consciously, not because he fears being alone. If she does not, life remains meaningful, vibrant, and full. This balance is the essence of strength in later years. The ability to connect without losing oneself, to care without clinging, and to share without dependency. So, do men over 60 really need women? The answer is layered. No man needs a woman to survive, to breathe, or to function in the world. But men do need emotional connection to thrive internally. Women are a profound source of this connection, but not the only one. The truth no one often voices is that aging does not diminish desire for companionship. It exposes whether a man has faced that need honestly or buried it beneath rationalizations of independence. And confronting this need openly, consciously, and courageously is what differentiates the strongest men from the rest. They are the men who keep their hearts open, not for survival or validation, but for authentic connection, without losing themselves. If this resonates with you, stay with this video. Because the strongest men, the ones who age with dignity, are not those who shut their hearts down to avoid pain. They are the ones who face it, learn from it, and continue to open themselves to the world without fear, without ego, and without compromise. This is the harsh truth no one tells you. Emotional desire does not fade with age, but life, if unexamined, can slowly fade without it.